want to just capture some thoughts real quick while they're fresh on my mind. In part, this is like second week of Trump's presidency since he's been inaugurated, and the commentary on DeepSeek and this new Chinese language model, which seems to be taking the world by storm. Whether it's credible or not, I don't think so. Not completely. I don't believe that what is presented by China as a $5 million project that just kind of wiped out all of the gains of OpenAI and all of the other tech companies is credible. I don't know why people do believe that. I think there's so much more to be said about where technology is coming. So let me actually say on the flip side of that, it is probably a very capable model, and I think that the Chinese are spending a whole lot of money and time and energy to get that model up and running and to create a sense of disruption in the Trump presidency right now. Where is the United States most vulnerable? It's in our confidence, right? Our overconfidence is the thing that is going to be most likely to be the challenging, um, our Achilles heel, right? Because we're still insecure. Basically, this we haven't reached a sense of knowing where our our future is headed, or how best to approach that future in this moment. So, I saw a post that was a repost of a something on Facebook a year ago, which showed the Jenga tower, at the edge of wobbling. It's just a photo that says something like, eventually the tower has to fall. And some comments about the fact that, yeah, we only have to make sure that we don't crash the planet once, right? Which is kind of a dark humor expression of that. But, the tower doesn't represent the Earth. It could, but what it actually represents is our confidence that we know what's going on and that we're in control. That is the sense of hubris and arrogance that will fall because we don't know what the hell's going on. And my tone here is a little bit pissed off because the world seems to be going nuts and looking for answers, but looking in a way that I think is very poor. Like this doesn't represent wisdom. This is a little bit of a chaotic reactionary response to what's happening in the world. And people who are looking for certainty at a moment when the tower starts to tilt, no, the tower's going to fall. Our certainty is its days are numbered, its moments are numbered. It's going to crash. Our confidence that we know what the hell is going on is going to crash really soon. Now, it will be replaced with a sense of, oh, our confidence isn't actually the thing that's going to save us. Our confidence is the thing that is blinding us to what actually needs to be done. The sense of, well, if I have a lot of monetary wealth, then I'll know how to dig myself out of this. This is kind of the arrogance and stupidity that led to the 2008 housing market crash, where, a lot of stuff was hidden. It was presented as certainty that the housing market is stable. And then when that Jenga tower fell, it blew the markets apart. And everybody wondered what the hell's going to go on. When COVID came, we thought that, yeah, we have our health under control, everything. The sense of, we've got everything under control and everything is pretty much operating according to schedule and we know, how to make gains continue. And then all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute. No, we actually can't go to the grocery store. We can't buy toilet paper. We can't meet with our friends. We have to lock ourselves away in our houses and pretend like everything is going to go to hell. Right. And yeah, clearly things did go wrong. The crash of confidence does have some actual consequences which are problematic. So, what am I actually saying here? What's the takeaway message? The takeaway message is we don't know how to deal with uncertainty. We've not known how to deal with uncertainty for a little while, and we've swept that lack of knowledge under the rug. We're in a place of incredible new uncertainty coming to the fore. That doesn't mean that there's nothing to be done. That doesn't mean that we have to throw everything that we know away. What it does mean is that I have to throw away my certainty that I know what's going on. I have to actually be creative and actually looking at where are my assumptions that are failing? What can I do to actually respond newly to this situation? How can I be creative and responsive to the world that's occurring rather than predictive of what I think is going to happen? It's a very different mode, right? Think about it. If I think the world is going to continue as it always has, and I've got it figured out, all I need to do is keep applying the same map and the same algorithms day after day, then and in a time of exceptional change, that strategy will fail. If I think instead, I don't know what's coming, but let me wake up each day with curiosity and fitness on responding to changes, not from a place of saving my old algorithms, but of reviewing what works and what doesn't work, then I actually have a decent chance of staying afloat and becoming more creative. This is a place where that old cartoon, the Far Side cartoon, or whatever, it's probably a couple of other places where it's, shows a couple of guys and a bear's coming, and one of the guys putting on his shoes, and the other guy's, why are you putting on your shoes? We can't outrun the bear. And it's like, the other guy says, I don't need to outrun the bear. I only need to outrun you, right? This capacity, I mean, that's a very dark place. And I'm in this grumpy mode right now. So, but the situation isn't that everybody's going to fail, the world's going to die. That's not the case. It's like we have to be adaptive and responsive to the moments that are changing right now. And most people are kind of looking to experts. Experts don't know what the hell's coming. They can predict some disruption, but they can't predict what's next because they're actually out of touch with what's really happening on the ground. Do you think Trump knows what's actually happening? No, he's just looking at toppling the existing mode, right? He thinks it's better to get done with the toppling, whatever toppling needs to happen, and that the toppling is a consequence of bad policy like wokeism and all that. Wokeism is a symptom. It's not a cause. Wokeism is the symptom of attempting to rebalance the power without actually changing anything. And that's not going to work. We have way too much that really does need to change. Are there systems that really are going to possibly change? Yes. Look at climate change. I mean, and you don't have to call it climate change. Just look at the weirdness and like the heat waves and floods and fires and tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes and solar flares and all of this stuff. It's like, yeah, stuff is up. If you don't think so, well, keep sticking your head in the sand, and I'm sure something will come by and lop it off for you. Um, and this isn't a doomsday scenario. It's just like, get real. It's time to actually pay attention to what's going on. No, build a bunker. This is like the solution isn't to live on canned peas and in the basement for 40 years and waiting for the nuclear fallout to go away. This is like, no, you definitely want to have resilience in the short term so that you can play again tomorrow. But the issue isn't to hold on to your past wealth as a hedge against current current trauma. This is a shift that's happening very deeply, and it's actually a little bit cathartic for me to say this. This is a long time coming, and the deeper consequence is a result of, again, an arrogant, hubristic stance that money can fix all the world's problems. When, if you look at it at all, the distortion to our value system that has been wrought by financial valuation of our situation is the cause of the instability, not the solution from the instability. Billionaires aren't going to be able to outrun catastrophe that is wrought by our economic system. That's not to say that capitalism hasn't done some wonderful things. It has. But are we prepared has capitalism and is money in the bank enough to figure out, how do I respond to a world that is shifting day by day, where Headlines can give me a sense of, oh shit, that I didn't even know how to prepare for. And tomorrow, those oh shit moments will could be completely forgotten and new oh shit moments, right? How is my money in the bank going to prepare me for that? I that's not. How is my piece of paper that tells me I have some expertise in, you know, whatever going to save me? It's not. We're going to have to get very much more relational, very much more aligned. We're going to have to build the competence of real time alignment with self, with spirit, with planet, with each other. And part of the what frustrates me is I'm working with a couple. Patty Beach has written an amazing book called The Art of Alignment. And it's an incredible process that she has honed for 20 years and is very effective at getting a team to let go of their assumptions um, of that they know what's happening and actually listen with innocence and appreciation to all of the gifts of the people that are on the team, such that they can pull together in the same direction. You don't realize, I don't think anybody realizes the degree to which there is, even in high functioning teams, an overwhelming sense of um, friction and uh, kind of learned incompetence for dealing with certain situations, if not because of the team that you're actually working with, because of your suppliers, because of the people who care for your kids, because of your family members who aren't part of your company, right? Nobody can escape the fact that the world is falling down around our ears. And alignment, in a deep sense, is one of the most promising ways in the short term to find methods of responding to the situation as it actually exists, rather than responding to what we hope or think should happen. It's not about what should happen. Should is not going to save your ass. It's not. There's not when you know when a tornado comes and hits your home, you can't say this shouldn't happen. Or whenever the insurance company goes bankrupt or can't fulfill on its obligation to cover you for that fail, should's not going to save your ass. You better learn to be, and again, it's not a sense of desperation and throwing up your hands and saying there's nothing that can be done. Of course, there are things that can be done, but the things that can be done are focusing on resilient, aligned practices of engagement with your neighbors and with your local people, and scaling it up to the global perspective. That's going to get us more of the way there than I think almost anything else. I think that is just the starting case. I don't even think that's going to solve all of it, but that will get us to the point of getting a bit of breathing room to think a little more deeply and strategically about how to apply wise effort to solving these problems, not trying to go back to make America great again. Like, are you kidding me? The situation in which America's greatness was originally founded, those circumstances don't exist anymore. You might as well cheer on. I'm going to give you an example. This is something that I think is really important to go back and look at. One of my favorite movies of all time is the original Inside Out movie, the Pixar animated movie. And I know a lot of people without kids haven't seen it. Hopefully you have. If you haven't, go watch it. In particular, watch a particular scene. There's a lot in that movie that's worth picking apart and looking at deeply. And I've talked to some skeptical people who think, David, you're making too much of this movie. But when I break down the lessons that are in that movie, you will see there's something there. I believe that there's something that our children are learning, that if you haven't really grokked what's in that movie, you're not capable of dealing with what your kids know deeply, right? Now, there's still more to learn. But here's the scene that I want you to pay attention to particularly. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. All right. The message is basically what goes on inside the head of a young girl who's displaced from her home in Minnesota where everything looks normal, and she's moved to San Francisco with her because her father's got a new job and everything is upended. Everything that she assumed was working is now no longer stable. That's like her whole house, her whole internal framework of what was working is now turned on its head. And so there's a sense of a dramatic sense of a loss of agency and watching the emotions respond. How do they respond? Well, okay, five primary emotions: joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. Argue with whether those are the right proper emotions or not. It doesn't matter. You could change it and it would be the same story. But basically, each emotion is trying to figure out how to steer young Riley, the main character's name, this little girl, in a way that's going to have her survive in the world the most effective ways possible. The thing that's really interesting is Joy has been the one because the world basically worked and she had a good strategy and she was able to kind of negotiate. And if fear got in the way, she could talk fear down off the ledge. Hey, fear, it's going to be fine. Remember, we got this strategy. And fear was like, oh, thank you, Joy. That's so wonderful. Or disgust, like, this is, I hate this. Mom's making a decision. So yeah, well, it's no good, but broccoli does build muscles and calcium builds teeth. So that's going to be good. There's a point where sadness feels like she has something important to contribute. And everything she touches turns everything blue. And it so darkens Riley's mood that that joy no longer has credible leadership skills in this environment. Sadness is so strong. The grief of nothing works. I don't know what to do. None of my strategies work. Joy attempting to tell herself that she's got it all under control clearly is bullshit. There's no question that Joy does not have it under control, and she needs to get off her high horse and listen to the real circumstances of life is complicated, and we need to throw out assumptions that are no longer working and revise our strategy for what's right in front of us. Whether that's broccoli pizza or hockey with a bunch of noobs in San Francisco, right? Whatever it is. But here's the thing, right? All of that's kind of the gist of it. At the darkest moment, when joy and sadness are no longer available because they've been plunged into deep memory where they no longer available, they're not able to control the panel in headquarters, leaving disgust, anger, and fear in charge. Hey, does that sound familiar? Does that sound like a man in the charge of the presidency right now? He is running by fear, disgust, and anger. And so joy and sadness are locked in a closet somewhere where we don't have access to them, hoping that the lunatics, the three stooges in charge, don't blow the world up while they're trying to get back to headquarters. And in the midst of it, anger finally says, I've fucking had enough, right? I'm no longer putting up with this bullshit. I know how to get us out of this. I'm going to go steal mom's credit card. I'm going to buy a bus ticket to get us back to Minnesota because Minnesota was the last fucking place that looked like anything sane was happening. Well, okay. Yeah. Great anger. You've taken action. You've taken decisive action. Make Riley great again because Minnesota was where Riley was great. And so we're going back there. Okay. Now let's just think about this for a second. Are your parents still in Minnesota? Do you have enough money on your credit card to make it work in Minnesota? It's a desperate move. It's not an actual solution to the problem. What it does do is it shows joy. It shows those mental processes inside how out of control we are. Anger and that rageful burst of energy that says, this is bullshit and I'm not putting up with anymore, lets the rest of the system know, wait a minute, hold on just a second. Before we blow the world up, maybe we should pause, take a deep breath, and see if there's something that we can do by acknowledging that we don't know what's happening. Maybe the sense of sadness that overwhelms us. Maybe we need to cry and tell our mom and dad, hey, I'm trying to keep it together, but I just don't know what to do anymore. Maybe that moment, that pause, will allow us to see the world in a little bit of a different way. We're in a moment where, as a collective society, as a civilizational culture, the joy that is supposed to be provided by wealth in an economic sense is bankrupt, right? Look, prove me wrong. Like, convince me otherwise. I'll wait. You know that this is what I'm saying has validity. Now, if you really want to kind of look at plan B, yeah, let's watch Inside Out 2, just recently out. I recommend you watch the first one first, paying attention to that. Paying attention as well, right? I want to point out another facet. One is anger's response, the feeling that that is a definitive action that will result in a positive outcome. It's not because his plan is a good one. It's because the desperation is so nakedly foolish that the rest of the system says, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. We're in we're in deep water if we think that anger could drive this bus in a good direction." Right. The other part of Inside Out 1 that's really important to notice is when a deep collapse happens, our operating system upgrades. Einstein's quote that you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem. Our biology knows this. Our biology knows this better than we as thinking individuals do, better than we as a society do. There isn't a great in the past that we can access that will apply directly to our world now. We're going to have to find new greatness, right? So Trump may actually know this to some extent, but it's not by rewinding the laws and throwing away the restrictions, right? This is borrowing mom's credit card and running it up to the hilt and hoping that we can outrun the tidal wave that's coming behind us. Just it's not going to work. I mean, Doge, are you serious, Elon? Do you really think that's going to provide the kind of shot in the arm that's going to make people excited for doing business again? Like we're on the verge of massive unemployment. Microsoft's talking about laying off all their mid-level coders. What are they going to do? Here's what they're going to do. They're going to get creative. They're going to bundle together. They're going to find ways to do things. And thank God that DeepSeek can make something cheap, right? Is that going to tank the stock price of NVIDIA? Who cares? It doesn't really matter, right? Like that's not your stock portfolio isn't the thing that's going to save you in this. It's your ability to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, reconnect to your neighbors, and build something that makes sense for today, this moment, now, right? It's a this waking us up out of the slumber that those in charge know what's going on and they'll protect us. This whole disclosure thing that they keep saying is about to happen. I believe there is going to be a disclosure that the world isn't like we think it is. It's also not like the robots are going to rise up like Terminators or AI is going to completely cut the cord, and like Samantha, or that we're living in a simulation like the Matrix and we're going to wake up in some, vat of slime and have to dig ourselves out and rehabilitate ourselves. None of that is exactly right, but it might as well be because the degree to which you're going to have to adjust to changing circumstances that no longer look like your projected path, that's going to be real. And the biggest obstacle will be you and your neighbors who are fear based, running with your head running around like a chicken with your head cut off and ready to get guns and shoot yourself your way out of this. And this is not the answer. This is ridiculous. I'm ranting here because I'm frustrated that everyone else doesn't see that they believe that their prognostications and analytics, their hedge fund and their stock portfolio is going to save them from the collapse of their certainty that we know what's going on. Give it up. It's already gone. The best thing you can do is clean the platform and start building anew. And this is the point that I was coming back to in the Inside Out on the original movie, the original Inside Out. When the collapse happens, the control board changes. And the way that the control board in our mind, the way that our neurology starts to work, we start to remap our world with updated assumptions. In the old world, in the movie, the way that goes, there's an analogy here that's worth paying attention to, right? In the movie, prior to the collapse, only one emotion could drive at a time. Anger was in charge, or sadness was in charge. Joy was in charge, or um, uh, disgust was in charge. Each of them would come up and say their thing, and a memory would come, you know, this how this the lens of this experience in this moment was tinged with the color of the emotion that was most prominent at that moment in time, and that's what got stored in long-term memory. The necessity for joy and sadness to work together, for joy not to silence, put a muffle on sadness, but actually listen to what sadness is contributing, because sadness has something important to say that we don't know needs to be listened to. It's not just a matter of, oh, look, you're depressed. How are you going to solve your problems if you're depressed? Just buck up, stiff upper lip, and get back out there and make it happen. Well, bullshit. There's a real challenge to the world right now. We need to cry a little bit. We need to actually feel like a sense of loss. Something tragic has happened. I don't know what to do. I do remember how to breathe. Let me start there. In the movie, the control panel changes, and the new control panel allows for the emotions to cooperate and collaborate and have multiple lens view of an experience, so that there's more nuance to what's happening instead of a black or white, hot or cold, either or dualistic mode, right? Or fine-grained control. This is a little bit like going through the terrible twos, right? There was a period of time where no was the only thing that you knew how to do, right? And eventually it's like, well, maybe, yes, no, I don't know. Let me check it out, right? It becomes more nuanced, but you have to actually work from, yeah, mom, yeah, dad, you know everything that's going on, to fuck you. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. No, 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 no. To, okay, no, I need to find something other than no. I need to actually find a way to participate in this. That upgrade, that operating system, low level control panel upgrade that allows our internal sense to align, to work together, so that we're pulling together in the same direction, so that we're moving from an oppositional, head butting, kind of a terrible twos mentality of I'm winning or I'm winning, to an opposable, very sensible grasping of the situation and manipulating my part of the world that I'm in, so that I can actually do the double backflip, triple McTwist, whatever it is, and learn how to respond to changing conditions, is going to get me through this. This is a process. And as a culture, we haven't had to face this kind of upgrade probably since Christ, maybe before. There are a couple of people who say this. We haven't faced the kind of challenge, at least since, I'll say that the most credible time that this was last, that our situation was as dire as it is right now, was collapse of the Bronze Age. And if you don't know what that is, it happened before the birth of Christ. It probably contributed to Christ and Buddha and a lot of people arising up with new wisdom based on new assumptions that came after the collapse of the Bronze Age. Go study that. See what that looks like and how long ago that was. More than 2,000 years ago. I think that the collapse that we're facing right now is bigger. I think that our capacity to recover from that is greater. Our capacity and likelihood that we'll be able to recover from that is greater, but not if we hold on to old assumptions and try to drive with the old operating system. The old operating system is dead. Let it die. Bury it, compost it, say your last rites, and welcome the new day that starts today by you looking in the mirror and saying, all right, here's where we're at. What's next? I'm ready. I'm here. Who wants to play? Hope this was helpful.